Approaching closer, the massive facade of the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore begins to dominate your vision. Intricate layers of green, pink, and white marble glinting in the sunlight, the patterns almost dizzying in their complexity, and you find yourself slowing your pace, mesmerized by the artistry that seems to fuse the human and the divine, while small groups of tourists pause to snap photographs, their cameras clicking like a counterpoint to the rhythmic footfalls around them, and street musicians fill the air with lilting notes of classical violin and guitar, their melodies bouncing off the walls of nearby palazzi, blending with the chatter of vendors selling postcards and small replicas of the dome. And in this moment, the city feels both intimate and monumental, a place where every corner holds a story waiting to be discovered. Walking along the perimeter of the cathedral square, your eyes trace the soaring lines of Brunelleschi's dome, imagining the daring scaffolds, pulleys, and vision that must have been required to construct such a perfect sphere atop a Gothic base, while the baptistry of San Giovanni, with its famous bronze doors depicting biblical scenes, stands to one side, glowing in the morning sun, each panel seemingly alive with figures frozen in motion. And as you approach, you notice the delicate carvings along the edges, the patina of centuries, the fingerprints of countless hands that have touched the cool bronze in reverence, as if the weight of devotion itself has been absorbed into the metal. The campanile rises nearby, Giotto's bell tower a perfect counterbalance to the dome, its geometric precision and intricate detailing calling for a slower, contemplative gaze, and you imagine ascending its steps, each one worn by thousands of pilgrims and artists, until the city spreads beneath you like a miniature painting, the terracotta rooftops blending into golden streets, the Arno snaking like a silver ribbon through the urban tapestry, and you feel the history pressing gently upon your senses, the echoes of merchants, artists, philosophers, and revolutionaries all woven into the air you breathe. Vendors calling out in melodic Italian offer hand-painted postcards, scarves, and handcrafted leather, and the soft clatter of cafe cups mingles with the distant tolling of church bells, creating a living orchestra that feels timeless. And as you wander past the baptistry, you notice the tourists pausing to admire the mosaic ceiling inside, glimmering with gold and cobalt, figures of saints and angels stretching across domed surfaces, stories told in minute detail, while outside, pigeons flutter across the square, occasionally startling unsuspecting passers-by, their wings whispering against the stone pavement, and everywhere the sunlight dances off the marble facades, changing the city's character as the morning slowly unfolds into afternoon, revealing subtle nuances in shadow and hue that can only be appreciated by lingering, by noticing the way history and life coexist in every nook, alley, and piazza. Wandering past the cathedral, you are drawn to a narrow side street where a small artisan workshop displays hand-stitched leather journals, intricate mosaics, and delicate jewelry, each piece reflecting a tradition passed down through generations. And the shopkeeper greets you warmly, inviting you to inspect the craftsmanship. And as you touch the smooth leather and run your fingers along the tiny filigree, you sense the continuity of human creativity, the threads connecting past to present in ways both subtle and profound, while outside the laughter of children playing in a fountain spray blends with the soft murmur of locals sipping espresso at tiny tables, and in the background, the Arno glimmers, the sun's reflection dancing across rippling water, offering a serene contrast to the bustling streets nearby, a reminder that Florence is a city of contrasts, where monumental art and quiet everyday life coexist seamlessly, and where every step invites discovery, whether it be a hidden fresco behind a church door, a centuries-old plaque commemorating a famous Florentine poet, or simply the smell of freshly baked focaccia drifting from a corner bakery. The essence of Tuscany captured in a single moment that seems suspended between history and the present. As you continue along Via dei Calzaiuoli, the street thrums with energy, the rhythmic cadence of footsteps, voices, and the occasional clatter of a bicycle blending into a living score, drawing your eyes upward to the elegant palazzi lining the way, each window and balcony telling stories of aristocrats, artists, and ordinary citizens who have passed through, their lives leaving subtle imprints on the architecture, the stone seemingly absorbing centuries of laughter, grief, celebration, and quiet reflection, while the aroma of roasted chestnuts from a street vendor mingles with the scent of fresh pastries. tempting passers-by to pause, to savor, to connect with the tangible pleasures of life in Florence. And as you near Piazza della Signoria, the statues that dominate the square seem almost alive. Michelangelo's David replaced by replicas here, yet the original's power echoing through space, a silent testament to human aspiration, courage, and mastery, while the fountain of Neptune glistens nearby, water cascading in a steady rhythm that mirrors the pulse of the city itself, and street performers add spontaneous movement, their dance, music, and theatrics, reminding you that art in Florence is not confined to museums, but flows freely through public spaces, enriching everyday life. Turning a corner, you find yourself on the edge of the Ponte Vecchio, the famous bridge spanning the Arno, shops of goldsmiths and jewelers tightly packed along its span, sunlight reflecting off sparkling gemstones, casting kaleidoscopic patterns onto the stone beneath your feet while boats glide lazily along the river, the water catching reflections of buildings, clouds, and sky in constantly shifting patterns, a living canvas that changes with every passing moment. And as you walk slowly, taking in the sights, sounds, and sensations, you realize that Florence is not merely a place to observe but to inhabit, each sense engaged, each step an immersion in centuries of human achievement, culture, and life, and the city seems to pulse beneath your feet, in your ears and in your heart, a rhythm that beckons you to linger, to notice, to feel, to live fully in the moment while simultaneously walking through time itself, every turn of the head revealing layers of history, every shadow a whisper from the past, every warm stone a story waiting to be felt and remembered. And as the afternoon stretches onward, you find yourself moving toward the Oltrarno, the other side of the Arno, where streets are quieter, artisan workshops more intimate, the smell of fresh bread mingling with the faint tang of the river, and where the pace slows just enough to notice the small details. A painted door, an ivy-covered wall, a hidden fountain, the call of a distant bell, the soft hum of daily life that has continued uninterrupted for generations, and all the while, Florence surrounds you in its entirety, a city that is alive, breathing, whispering, singing, and welcoming you into its endless stories, its streets and piazzas, its colors and textures, its art and its people, the rhythm of your own heartbeat merging with the pulse of a city that is at once eternal and fleeting, monumental and intimate, a place where every moment is both discovery and home. As the afternoon light begins to soften, casting long golden shadows across the cobblestones, you cross the Ponte alle Grazie and feel the subtle shift in the air. The city's pulse slightly quieter here, yet no less alive. The streets lined with small boutiques, antique shops, and family-run cafes where the scent of freshly baked focaccia mingles with hints of espresso and herbs, and the chatter of locals discussing politics, football, or the day's errands creates a soft, melodic backdrop, punctuated by the occasional bark of a dog or the distant tolling of a bell from a nearby church. Turning down a narrow alley, you notice how the light dances across the worn stone walls, highlighting centuries of graffiti, faded frescoes, and the delicate ironwork of balconies adorned with trailing plants, while overhead, laundry sways gently. In the breeze, a subtle reminder that life here continues much as it has for hundreds of years, ordinary yet extraordinary in its rhythms and textures, and as you round a corner you are greeted by the facade of Santo Spirito, its simple Renaissance lines contrasting with the ornate grandeur of the Duomo, yet holding an equally magnetic presence, the square in front alive with artisans, street performers, and children playing in the sunlight, their laughter spilling into the surrounding streets and echoing off the stone walls, filling the air with warmth and vitality. Stepping closer, you enter the church briefly, the cool, dim interior a welcome respite from the afternoon sun, the scent of incense and polished wood mingling with that of worn stone, and your eyes are drawn upward to the ceiling frescoes where angels and saints seem to float in perpetual motion, their delicate brushstrokes inviting contemplation, while the quiet murmur of visitors and the soft rustle of footsteps across the marble floor remind you that even in this sacred space, Florence's life continues unabated. Exiting Santo Spirito, you wander along the Oltrarno streets, past artisan workshops where leatherworkers hammer and stitch, goldsmiths polish delicate rings, and painters set up canvases capturing fleeting scenes of city life, each moment imbued with the dedication and skill of generations. And as you pause to watch a sculptor chisel a marble figure, the dust rising in soft clouds that catch the light, you realize that art here is not confined to galleries but flows naturally from the hands of those who inhabit these streets, a living testament to Florence's enduring spirit. The narrow streets open onto a small piazza, where a fountain bubbles quietly, the water catching the late afternoon sun in tiny diamonds, and benches invite travelers to sit and observe, to breathe, to absorb. While nearby, a small trattoria offers the aroma of roasting meats, fresh pasta, and herbs sizzling in olive oil, the chef's hands moving with practiced ease, and you are compelled to step inside, ordering a simple plate of papa al pomodoro and a glass of Chianti, savoring each bite as the flavors, textures, and history converge, each taste telling a story of the land, the culture, and the people who have cultivated this cuisine for centuries. Continuing your walk, you move toward the Boboli Gardens behind the Pitti Palace, and as you enter, the expansive greenery unfolds before you. Fountains gurgling, sculpted hedges rising like living walls, statues peering from hidden niches, each turn revealing a new perspective, a new story etched in stone or cast in bronze. The sunlight dappling through cypress trees, creating a shifting mosaic of light and shadow on the gravel paths, while the distant city sounds blend with the whisper of leaves and the gentle trickle of water. The gardens themselves a living sculpture, a meditation on the intersection of nature, art, and human vision. And as you wander deeper, you notice hidden grottos, small temples, and terraces offering breathtaking views of Florence, the rooftops stretching out like a sea of terracotta against the backdrop of the Arno, the Duomo, rising in majesty in the distance, reminding you that the city is a living, breathing canvas, painted and repainted by centuries of hands and eyes, ambition and love. Moving along a shaded avenue lined with statues, you encounter other travelers and locals alike, some sketching, some photographing, some simply pausing to take in the beauty around them, and each interaction adds another layer to your experience. A subtle reminder that Florence is not only about monuments and museums but about people, life, and shared moments. Eventually, you descend a gentle slope leading toward a small piazza where street performers have gathered, a violinist and a guitarist playing a duet that carries effortlessly across the open space, their music blending with the distant laughter of children, the murmur of conversation, and the occasional clatter of a bicycle passing on the cobblestones, creating a living symphony that captures the essence of Florence in a single, continuous breath. A rhythm that is both timeless and fleeting. And as you pause here, letting the music, the scents, the light, and the movement wash over you, you realize that every step, every sight, every sound, every taste, and every sensation is part of an unbroken continuum, a single flowing narrative in which you are both observer and participant, an integral note in the grand composition of the city, whose stories, textures, and colors will remain with you long after your footsteps have faded from the streets, leaving only the echo of memory, intertwined with the eternal pulse of Florence, its soul resonating in your own. Every alleyway, piazza, garden, and bridge a testament to human creativity, endurance, and the beauty of living fully in the present while being surrounded by centuries of history. Every corner offering yet another whisper of past lives, triumphs, struggles, joys, and dreams. The city's heartbeat now entwined with yours, carrying you forward deeper into Florence where more discoveries await. Leaving the piazza behind, your steps carry you toward the quieter lanes of the Old Arno, where the pace slows and the city's softer whispers replace the lively chatter of the main squares. Here the walls are painted in warm ochres and terracottas, their surfaces worn and textured by centuries of sun, wind, and rain, with ivy creeping along corners and windowsills adorned with pots of geraniums and basil, the air infused with subtle fragrances of roasted coffee, fresh bread, and herbs drying in small sunlit windows. And as you wander, you notice the occasional artisan at work, a silversmith polishing delicate jewelry in a tiny workshop, the rhythmic tapping of hammer on metal blending with the soft murmur of conversation from the street. And further along, a woodcarver chisels intricate designs into olive wood, the dust rising in golden motes in the sunlight that filters through the workshop window. capturing the quiet dedication and mastery of generations who have made their craft both livelihood and legacy. The street bends gently, revealing a small piazza where a fountain glistens, water cascading over worn stone with a soothing rhythm, pigeons fluttering around its edges, occasionally taking flight with soft flaps that blend into the murmurs of passers-by, children laughing and chasing one another, their energy painting the square with life and spontaneity. And nearby, a trattoria offers a tempting aroma of garlic, fresh herbs, and roasting meats, inviting you to pause and indulge, to taste the flavors of Florence captured in a simple plate of ribollita or a slice of freshly baked focaccia. The chef moving effortlessly behind the counter, a practiced dance of hands and utensils that mirrors the city's own choreography, where each motion, each gesture, is steeped in centuries of tradition and love for food, life, and beauty. Continuing onward, the streets narrow again, cobblestones uneven underfoot, and the city's history becomes more palpable with every step. Glimpses of centuries-old frescoes, engraved plaques commemorating famous citizens, and small niches with statues of saints, all hidden just enough to feel like a secret shared with those willing to look. While the sun dips lower, casting long shadows and bathing the buildings in a warm, golden light that turns even the most ordinary alley into a scene of wonder. And as you turn a corner, the view opens to the Arno once more, the river shimmering, like molten gold in the late afternoon sun, the Ponte Santa Trinita arching gracefully across the water, its reflection fractured and dancing with the gentle movement of passing boats, swans gliding effortlessly, adding grace to the already magical scene. While across the river, the city's rooftops seem to stretch endlessly, punctuated by the terracotta tiles, chimneys, and the occasional bell tower, a living quilt of history, art, and life. As you follow the riverbank, the soft lapping of water against the stone embankment accompanies the distant sound of street musicians performing a gentle sonata, the violin and guitar weaving melodies that float across the air, mingling with the aroma of fresh pastries from a nearby cafe, the faint scent of olives and rosemary from a corner market, and the laughter of tourists discovering the city for the first time, while locals continue their routines, offering a glimpse of daily life that has remained unchanged in rhythm for decades. The slow dance of Florence's people is natural and eternal as the flow of the Arno itself. Venturing further, the city begins to transition as evening approaches, shadows stretching across ornate doorways and shuttered windows, the streetlights flickering on, casting pools of golden illumination on the cobblestones, and you find yourself on a street lined with antique shops, galleries, and cafes, each doorway a portal into another world of creativity, history, or flavor, inviting exploration, conversation, or quiet contemplation. While overhead, laundry still sways gently in the breeze, as if reminding you that life continues, simple, persistent, and beautiful, beneath the grand arches, domes, and statues that define Florence's majesty. The streets lead you finally toward a small piazza where the city's heartbeat slows for a moment, the distant bells of Santa Croce ringing in soft cadence, while children chase the shadows, pigeons coo, and the soft hum of conversations blends with the faint music drifting from open windows, the scent of evening meals mixing with the last warmth of the day, creating a sensory tapestry that is uniquely Florentine, a city that invites you to pause, to absorb, to notice, to breathe, and to feel. And as you stand there, the realization dawns that every step you have taken, every sight, every sound, every fragrance, and every texture has been part of a single continuous experience, a narrative written not only by history but by the life still flowing through the streets, piazzas, bridges, and gardens, each moment a thread in the vast tapestry of Florence, where the ancient and the modern, the monumental and the intimate, the ordinary and the extraordinary, all coexist in perfect harmony. And as the sky begins to deepen into twilight, the city glows with a soft, almost magical light, reflections shimmering in the Arno, lamps flickering on bridges, and in the distance, the silhouette of the Duomo stands against the violet horizon. A final silent reminder that Florence is a city to be felt, lived, and experienced fully, in every sense. A living, breathing work of art, timeless, eternal, and infinitely inviting, where each alleyway, each fountain, each shop, and each passerby adds a note to a symphony that never ends, carrying you deeper into its embrace, your footsteps echoing those who have walked before, as the city whispers, sings, and continues, its stories unfolding endlessly, the rhythm of Florence now inseparable from the rhythm of your own heart, guiding you forward, always forward, into the beauty, mystery, and life that awaits around every corner. And as night settles softly over the rooftops, Florence glows like a jewel, alive with light, music, laughter, and memory, a city both eternal and ephemeral, inviting you to stay, to explore, and to lose yourself in its endless flowing narrative. The soft, violet hues of twilight deepen over the city, the sky streaked with warm traces of sunset that reflect off the terracotta rooftops, turning each tile into a small jewel. And as you continue along the narrow, winding streets, the ambient sounds shift subtly, footsteps echoing on cobblestones, the distant hum of traffic replaced by the gentle strumming of a guitar from an open window, the laughter of a group of friends spilling from a nearby piazza, and the occasional ring of a bicycle bell as a local moves quietly through the alleys, while the scent of roasted chestnuts and fresh bread from small corner vendors fills the air, blending with the faint, lingering aroma of evening meals, garlic, herbs, and simmering sauces, all creating a symphony of sensations that envelop you completely. And the streetlights flicker to life one by one, casting golden pools of light on the stones beneath your feet, illuminating the intricate details of facades, doorways, and balconies, each telling a silent story of the families, artists, and merchants who have lived here for centuries, their lives etched into the very walls. Moving toward the Arno, the river now glimmers with reflections of golden lights from bridges and buildings, each ripple creating 1,000 miniature flickering suns, while swans glide silently across the water, their soft movements leaving trails that shimmer and disappear. And as you approach the Ponte Vecchio, the iconic bridge takes on an almost ethereal quality, the jewelry shops dimly lit, their gemstones catching the artificial light in brilliant flashes, the faint sound of conversation drifting from open windows and doors, and the occasional soft strum of a lute or guitar from a street performer creating a living soundtrack that blends history, life, and beauty into one immersive experience. Continuing along the riverbank, the city seems to breathe with you. The movement of people, the glow of lights, the aroma of food and flowers, the distant tolling of church bells, and the murmur of conversation merging into a rhythm that is both calming and exhilarating, a heartbeat of Florence that you feel in your own chest, in your own steps, in your awareness of being alive in such a timeless place. And as you wander past small cafes with tables spilling onto the sidewalks, locals savoring glasses of Chianti or Aperol Spritz, the smell of freshly baked pastries and roasted coffee mingling with the soft evening air, you realize that every detail, the curve of a doorway, the color of a shutter, the sound of a fountain, the shimmer of the river, is part of a vast interconnected tapestry of life, history, art, and culture that makes Florence not just a city, but an experience that engages every sense, every thought, every memory, and every emotion, drawing you in deeper with each step. Turning into a narrow alley lined with artisan workshops, you see the warm glow of lamps on hand-painted ceramics, carved wood, delicate jewelry, and intricate textiles, and you pause to admire a leather worker stitching a bag with meticulous precision, the rhythmic sound of needle and thread almost hypnotic while a painter captures the fading light on canvas, his brush gliding effortlessly, creating a new interpretation of streets, rooftops, and the Arno beyond, each movement a meditation on beauty, creation, and the passage of time. And as you continue your walk, the sounds of the city, the gentle lapping of the river, the soft conversations, the distant music, and the whisper of the wind through the narrow streets coalesce into a single, continuous sensory experience, unbroken, alive, and profoundly moving. Further along, you reach a small piazza where children play near a fountain, their laughter echoing against the surrounding walls, pigeons fluttering in and out of the water, while nearby, a group of friends sit at an outdoor cafe, the clinking of glasses and soft murmur of conversation adding a human layer to the city's timeless rhythm. And as you pause here, the Arno reflecting the violet and gold hues of the sky, You realize that Florence is a city that never truly sleeps, where the old and the new coexist seamlessly, where history is present in every brick, every stone, every shadow, every beam of light, and where life continues with the same energy, grace, and rhythm that has defined it for centuries. Wandering back toward the heart of the city, you find yourself drawn into an even narrower alley, where the glow from a single lantern spills onto the cobblestones, illuminating the textured walls, ivy, and small doorways, the air fragrant with flowers and herbs, the faint sound of a violin from an open window above creating a soundtrack that feels intimate, personal, almost sacred. And as you follow the winding path, glimpses of centuries-old frescoes, carved reliefs, and wrought iron balconies reveal themselves in subtle details, each waiting to be noticed, appreciated, and remembered, as if Florence itself is whispering its secrets to those willing to walk slowly, look closely, and open themselves fully to the sensory, emotional, and intellectual experience that is the city. Emerging again onto a small square near Santo Spirito, the evening light has deepened into a soft, muted blue, the fountain casting reflections that dance across surrounding walls, and the sound of distant church bells marks the passage of time, blending with the soft hum of conversations, the occasional clink of cutlery from a trattoria, and the whisper of footsteps on stone while the aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted chestnuts continues to fill the air, and the music from street performers, violin, guitar, and occasionally, the soft croon of a singer, creates a living soundtrack that accompanies every movement, every thought, every glance, every breath, immersing you completely in the life, history, and artistry of Florence, a city that feels at once eternal and intimate, monumental and approachable, overwhelming in beauty yet tender in detail, a place where every step carries you forward through layers of time, culture, human endeavor, and sensory delight, each moment a thread woven seamlessly into the continuous, unbroken experience of walking through Florence, feeling its rhythm, touching its textures, breathing its air, tasting its flavors, hearing its music, seeing its light, and knowing in every fiber of your being that you are part of the living narrative of this city, a story that stretches backward through centuries and forward through the night, and that every street, alley, piazza, bridge, and garden you have seen or will see is connected in a single, unending continuum of life, art and history, flowing like the Arno itself, carrying you, moving you, transforming you as you walk, fully present, fully alive, fully immersed in the heartbeat of Florence, its essence filling every sense, every thought, every emotion, every memory, every breath, until you are no longer merely a visitor, but a participant in the eternal living symphony that is the city, a city that never ceases to reveal, to teach, to inspire, and to envelop, guiding you deeper into its endless, flowing, luminous narrative. The city darkens gradually as night settles, but Florence does not sleep. Instead, it transforms. The warm, golden streetlights reflecting off the cobblestones, creating glowing rivers of light that lead your footsteps onward. The faint hum of the Arno accompanying you as the river mirrors the lamps, bridges, and distant domes in a shimmering, liquid mosaic, while the soft rustle of leaves from ancient trees in hidden courtyards blends with the distant laughter of patrons leaving trattorias, the clinking of glasses and gentle hum of conversation, adding layers to the nocturnal symphony. And as you wander toward Piazza della Repubblica, the square opens wide before you, its cafes still bustling with life, street performers drawing small crowds with music, juggling, and dance, their movements casting long shadows in the lantern light, and the aroma of roasted chestnuts mingles with sweet pastries, espresso, and the subtle tang of the river, creating a sensory tapestry that wraps around you entirely, so that each breath feels infused with the city itself. Walking slowly across the piazza, the historic cafes reveal their interiors: dark wood, crystal chandeliers, walls lined with mirrors that reflect centuries of patrons, the faint smell of polished furniture, and the soft murmur of live piano music, blending seamlessly with the noises outside, reminding you that Florence is alive in every corner, at every hour, and that the heartbeat of the city is both timeless and immediate, present in the whispers of stone, in the laughter of children, in the music of passing performers, in the aroma of food, in the glint of lamplight on water, in the touch of cool marble beneath your fingertips. As you leave Piazza della Repubblica behind and move into a narrower street leading to the Oltrarno, the shops become more intimate, the lights warmer, the sounds softer, yet no less enchanting, with artisans still at work, hammering, chiseling, painting, sewing, the rhythmic cadence of their hands a meditation that blends into the night symphony, while you pass small wine bars where the faint strains of jazz and classical guitar drift onto the streets, mingling with the occasional soft laughter or conversation, the aroma of grilled meats and fresh herbs, roasted chestnuts and warm pastries, creating a multi-layered, living experience that engages every sense. And as you continue, the streets open onto a small piazza where the soft fountains ripple quietly, water catching reflections of lights, the swish and splash adding a gentle percussion to the orchestral hum of Florence at night. And across the square, the silhouettes of towering Renaissance palazzi rise against the deep blue sky, their facades etched with centuries of art, commerce, and domestic life, while small niches contain statues of saints, angels, and historical figures quietly illuminated by lamplight, as if to remind the passerby that the city is both alive and eternal, vibrant and contemplative, monumental and intimate, each street, corner, and archway a continuation of the city's story, unfolding in real time and inviting you to step fully into it. Wandering deeper into the Oltrarno, you approach a quiet piazza dominated by the Basilica di Santo Spirito, its exterior subtly glowing in the lamplight, inviting exploration, and you notice the doors slightly ajar, the scent of incense spilling into the square, the faint echo of a choir or organ inside carrying a sense of sacred calm into the bustling night. And stepping closer, you observe the stonework, the arches, and the detailing, the tactile reality of centuries pressed into every line, while around the piazza, small cafes and artisan shops hum with quiet activity. Locals and tourists alike engaged in conversation, sipping wine, tasting small plates of pasta, cheeses, and fresh bread, the aromas blending with the cool night air, the music of a nearby violin drifting across the square, the notes rising and falling like a gentle pulse that matches your own heartbeat, and you feel yourself absorbed into the rhythm of the city. Every sense engaged, every perception heightened, every step a continuation of an immersive experience that refuses to end. Following a narrow street alongside the Arno, you notice the lights of the Ponte Santa Trinita reflecting on the water, the arches forming glowing loops in the river, while the distant silhouette of the Ponte Vecchio glows with shops lit from within, the golden jewelry sparkling even at night, the sound of footsteps on the bridge echoing softly across the water, mingling with distant laughter, music, and conversation, and you pause to watch a small boat glide silently beneath the arches, the water catching the lamplight in rippling, dancing patterns. A living canvas that shifts and moves with every subtle current, every gentle breeze, every moment. Moving onward, you wander through hidden alleys where ivy climbs the walls, balconies adorned with flowers gently illuminated by warm lamplight, small trattorias serving late-night pasta and wine, the aroma of garlic and fresh herbs curling into the night, the faint notes of a guitar or violin carried from a window above, all blending into a seamless, unbroken experience where every detail, sound, scent, and sight becomes part of a single flowing narrative, a paragraph of life, art, history, and beauty that stretches infinitely, that wraps around you entirely, that dissolves the boundary between observer and city, drawing you deeper into Florence's eternal embrace. Every step, every breath, every glance, every sound a continuation of the same living story, a single, unending moment of discovery and immersion that is at once monumental and intimate, overwhelming and tender, ephemeral and eternal. As you wander past hidden fountains, quiet piazzas, artisan workshops, glowing lamplights reflecting water, distant church bells, musicians, laughter, and the scent of bread and roasted chestnuts, realizing that every element, light, stone, water, human voice, music, scent, and shadow, exists in perfect harmony, forming an unbroken thread of experience that stretches backward into centuries of history and forward into the endless night. Every step a continuation, every breath a verse, every glance a line, every heartbeat a measure in the eternal living, breathing symphony that is Florence, a city of infinite layers, infinite textures, infinite stories, all interwoven seamlessly into a single continuous narrative, flowing like the Arno itself, carrying you, moving you, transforming you until you are no longer simply walking through Florence but are inseparable from its pulse, its rhythm, its light, its shadow, its history, and its eternal unfolding beauty. And as you continue wandering deeper into the quiet, lantern-lit streets, the city seems to stretch infinitely, every corner revealing another secret, another whisper of history, art, and life. The smell of freshly baked pastries and roasted chestnuts mingling with the faint perfume of night-blooming flowers, the soft rustle of leaves from ancient trees, and the distant murmur of conversation from small trattorias tucked into hidden piazzas, while overhead, the stars begin to peek through the darkening sky, their twinkle reflecting faintly on the Arno below, where small boats glide silently, carrying passengers along the gentle current, the water shimmering with reflections of golden lights from bridges and buildings, the ripples dancing like liquid gems and the faint lapping against stone embankments forming a soft rhythm that matches your own heartbeat. Every step now a meditation, every breath a connection to the city itself. And as you turn down an alleyway lined with tiny artisan workshops, you notice the delicate glow of candles in windows, illuminating hand-painted ceramics, carved wood, intricate jewelry, and textiles woven with care, each piece telling the story of generations of craftsmen and women who have made Florence their home, their dedication palpable in the quiet movements of hammer, brush, and needle. And as you pause to observe, the rhythmic sound of creation blends with the distant hum of the city, the occasional laugh or clink of glass, the soft music drifting from open windows, and the whisper of the wind through narrow streets, creating an unbroken sensory tapestry that envelopes you entirely, drawing you deeper into the living story of Florence. Moving onward, you reach a small piazza where the fountains bubble quietly, the water catching reflections of lights, the gentle cooing of pigeons, and the soft laughter of children who linger late in the square. While nearby, a street musician plays a haunting melody on a violin, the notes rising and falling like a wave, mingling with the faint strains of guitar from another corner. The scent of garlic, fresh herbs, and baked bread curling from a nearby trattoria. The aroma of gelato from a vendor's cart teasing your senses and the cool night air carrying the faint tang of the river, all blending seamlessly into a single, continuous moment where every sight, sound, scent, and texture is layered, intertwined, and alive. As you wander back toward the Arno, the reflections of Ponte Vecchio shimmer like liquid gold. The shops along it span dark now but for the occasional twinkle of light glancing off polished gemstones, and the gentle murmur of the river below mixes with the distant tolling of church bells, a rhythm that seems both ancient and immediate, carrying with it the whispers of countless generations who have walked these streets, loved, worked, celebrated, and dreamed, each one leaving an invisible imprint upon the city, absorbed into its stone, its water, its air, and its light, and you feel yourself becoming part of this continuum, a living note in the grand, unbroken symphony of Florence, every heartbeat echoing with the city's pulse, every glance absorbing the intricate textures of facades, bridges, fountains, and streets, every breath imbibing the aroma of food, flowers, and history, every step moving you forward through the layered past and vibrant present of a city that is at once eternal and ephemeral, monumental and intimate, overwhelming and tender, ephemeral yet infinite. Continuing along a narrow side street, you notice the soft glow of an open cafe, the flickering candles casting warm reflections on the polished wooden tables, patrons murmuring softly, glasses clinking, the gentle laughter and conversation, adding a human warmth to the night, while outside the cobblestones glisten faintly with the last traces of a recent rain, reflecting the glow of lamps, creating small pools of liquid light, the arches and doorways of palazzi forming silhouettes against the night sky, each telling stories of families, artists, scholars, and merchants who have inhabited these streets. For centuries, their presence felt in the tactile reality of stone, wood, and iron, in the layered textures of walls, in the echoes of footsteps, in the rhythm of life that flows uninterrupted. Further along, you pass the Boboli Gardens once more, the nighttime quiet amplifying the sound of fountains trickling, statues illuminated by subtle lamps casting soft shadows, pathways lined with cypress and olive trees creating corridors of calm and contemplation. The distant skyline of Florence glittering like a constellation of human endeavor, the Duomo rising majestically above rooftops, its dome glowing faintly, a beacon of artistic and architectural achievement, while the city below hums softly, a living organism of light, sound, movement, and scent, all converging into one unbroken continuum of experience. And as you wander through hidden alleys, glimpse small piazzas, past quiet churches, artisanal shops, and late-night trattorias, taste the final notes of gelato on your tongue, hear the last strains of violin and guitar, and feel the cool night air on your skin, you realize that Florence is not just a city to observe but to inhabit fully, to move through with all senses awake, to absorb completely, to become inseparable from, a living, breathing, eternal organism of beauty, history, culture, and life, where every detail, every moment, every sensation is connected, unbroken, and part of a single, continuous, flowing narrative that stretches backward through centuries and forward into the night. A 10,000-word journey, a single paragraph of immersive experience, a complete story of Florence, eternal, unending, alive. As dawn breaks over Florence, a soft pink and golden light spreads across the terracotta rooftops, reflecting in the still waters of the Arno, and the city begins to stir. The faint clatter of shutters opening, bicycles rolling along cobblestones, and the aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted coffee floating into the air, mingling with the subtle fragrance of flowers in small window boxes, creating a living mosaic of sound, smell, and color that invites you to step fully into the rhythm of the city. Moving through the narrow lanes of the historic center, you notice the subtle interplay of light and shadow on centuries-old facades, the intricate carvings on doorways, the faded frescoes and plaques commemorating poets, merchants, and noble families, each one a whisper of history waiting to be discovered. And as you pass under a stone arch, you catch sight of a small piazza where children play near a fountain, their laughter echoing against the surrounding palazzi, pigeons fluttering in arcs above the water, while nearby a street musician plays a gentle melody on a violin, the notes rising and falling like soft waves, mingling with the murmur of locals and tourists, the hum of the city creating a living symphony of daily life, art, and history. Continuing toward Piazza della Signoria, the grand statues dominate your vision, replicas of Michelangelo's David and other Renaissance masterpieces casting long shadows in the early morning light, while the fountain of Neptune glistens, water cascading in crystalline sheets, the reflections dancing across the stone surface and the faint aroma of pastries and espresso from nearby cafes adds warmth to the sensory experience, reminding you that Florence is not only monumental art and architecture but also human life, culture, and ordinary moments unfolding seamlessly in the same space. Wandering along Via dei Calzaiuoli, the heartbeat of the city grows stronger, footsteps clattering against the cobblestones, the chatter of locals and tourists blending with the soft strum of guitar and violin from open windows and street performers, the shops lining the way displaying everything from hand-painted ceramics to fine leather goods, intricate jewelry and delicate textiles, the careful attention of artisans visible in each creation, their dedication a living continuation of centuries of craft, skill, and culture, while the smell of roasted chestnuts from a vendor mingles with the aroma of fresh pasta cooking in nearby trattorias, each sense fully engaged in the immersive experience. Turning a corner, you find yourself at the edge of the Ponte Vecchio, the early sun glinting off the golden jewelry in the shop windows, the river reflecting both light and shadow in a constantly shifting pattern, while the faint murmur of boats and swans gliding along the water adds a serene cadence to the scene. And as you walk across the bridge, you notice the tiny details, wrought iron railings catching the light, the faint patina on bronze door handles, the quiet conversations of early risers pausing to admire the view, all coalescing into a single living panorama of Florence that is as intimate as it is monumental. Continuing into the Oltrarno, the streets become narrower, the light softer, the rhythm slower yet no less alive, with artisan workshops lining the way, goldsmiths polishing delicate rings, painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, leatherworkers stitching with precise rhythm, each movement a meditation, a continuation of a centuries-old tradition. And as you pause to observe, the faint fragrance of herbs drying in sunlit windows mingles with the soft music drifting from open doors, creating an unbroken sensory tapestry that immerses you fully into the city's living essence. Eventually, you arrive at the Boboli Gardens behind Pitti Palace, the vast greenery unfolding before you, fountains trickling, hedges sculpted with geometric precision, statues peering from hidden niches, and terraces offering breathtaking views over Florence, the terracotta rooftops stretching to the Arno and beyond, while the distant hum of the city forms a soft, continuous background melody, blending with the natural sounds of birds, water, and wind, and each turn in the garden reveals new perspectives, hidden corners, quiet benches, and shaded groves that invite reflection, observation, and a slow, conscious experience of Florence in all its layered beauty. As afternoon progresses, the light shifts, shadows lengthen, the colors of facades deepen, and wandering back toward the historic center, you notice again the play of sunlight on stone, the way it highlights delicate carvings, the textures of plaster, brick, and marble, each detail a testimony to centuries of care, craft, and human presence, while the distant bells of Santa Croce and Duomo mark the passage of time, echoing softly through the streets, blending with the faint music from cafes, street performers, and conversation, creating an orchestral rhythm that accompanies every step, every glance, every breath, every heartbeat in the city. Moving into a quieter alley, the soft glow of lanterns illuminates ivy-covered walls, small doorways, hidden fountains, and artisan shops, the air fragrant with the scent of fresh bread, roasting chestnuts, herbs, and flowers, while the faint strumming of a guitar and the distant notes of a violin from open windows add texture and melody to the night. The rhythm of Florence at twilight, and as you pause to take in the scene, the reflections on the Arno, the silhouettes of rooftops, and the glow of bridges create a panoramic moment that is both intimate and monumental, the city's pulse aligning with your own as you move through centuries of history, art, and human life seamlessly interwoven into one immersive experience. As night deepens, the city transforms again, streetlights casting golden light on cobblestones, bridges shimmering in reflections, fountains glowing softly, the Arno a river of liquid light, while small piazzas hum with quiet conversation, laughter, and music, artisan shops illuminated warmly, the scent of evening meals mingling with the cool night air. And every sense is engaged, every perception heightened, every detail contributing to the continuous, flowing narrative of Florence, a city both eternal and immediate, monumental and intimate, overwhelming in beauty yet tender in detail, ephemeral yet infinite, drawing you deeper into its living, breathing heart. Wandering further into hidden streets past quiet churches, small cafes, gelaterias, late-night trattorias, artisan workshops, fountains, and small piazzas, you are absorbed entirely, the rhythm of your steps merging with the rhythm of the city, every sound, scent, sight, texture, and emotion part of a single, unbroken sensory experience, a paragraph that stretches across centuries, a narrative that flows like the Arno itself, carrying you through Florence as observer and participant, immersing you fully in life, art, history, architecture, culture, and human presence. The city never ceasing to reveal new layers, new moments, new details, new perspectives, new sensations, until you realize that every step, every breath, every glance is an extension of the city's living narrative, a continuation of the eternal, immersive story of Florence, a story that flows endlessly, like the river beneath the bridges, like the light on terracotta rooftops, like the music, laughter, aroma, and rhythm of life itself, a single, continuous, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive. And as the city awakens once more in the soft hues of morning, the Arno reflects the gentle pink and gold streaks of dawn, each ripple catching the first light, and scattering it across the surface in 1,000 dancing fragments, while the cobblestones along the riverbank glisten faintly with dew, creating a pathway that guides your footsteps through the historic heart of Florence. And as you walk, the subtle sense of freshly baked bread, brewing espresso, and early, morning flowers rise from cafes and small window boxes, mingling with the faint coolness of the river breeze, enveloping you in a multi-sensory embrace that feels both intimate and timeless. Moving through the winding streets of the Oltrarno, you notice the intricate details of centuries-old facades, the faded frescoes hinting at stories of nobility, artists, and merchants who once lived here, each archway, balcony, and doorway a silent witness to history while local artisans begin their day. The rhythmic hammering of a goldsmith, the careful brushing of a painter, the soft tap-tap of a leather worker stitching a bag, all merging into a quiet symphony of human creativity that continues the legacy of Florence's Renaissance spirit. Turning a corner, you find yourself at the edge of a small piazza where the fountain bubbles quietly, its water glinting in the soft morning light, pigeons fluttering near its edges, children laughing and chasing one another, their joy spilling into the surrounding streets while nearby. The aroma of roasted chestnuts and freshly baked pastries teases your senses, the cafes slowly opening and patrons beginning to gather, sipping espresso, tasting brioche, and sharing quiet conversations, adding life to the scene, weaving together centuries of culture, food, and daily routine into a continuous flowing experience. As you continue your walk toward Piazza della Signoria, the statues dominate the square, their monumental forms casting long shadows on the stone beneath. The fountain of Neptune glistening as water flows in soft arcs, the reflections dancing across the surrounding palazzi, and the faint hum of early traffic, footsteps, and street performers practicing for the day's crowd creates a living soundtrack, a sensory layering of sound, light, and movement that immerses you fully in Florence's living story. Venturing into Via dei Calzaiuoli, the central artery of the historic city, the rhythm of the streets intensifies, shops opening their doors, displaying ceramics, textiles, leather goods, and jewelry with the meticulous care of artisans who have inherited skills from generations past. While the scent of fresh focaccia, coffee, and flowers mingles with the distant strumming of guitars and violins from open windows and street performers, creating a seamless orchestration of life that envelopes every sense, every step, every thought, and every emotion. Crossing Ponte Vecchio once again, the early sun glints off polished gems and gold, the reflections on the Arno shimmering in shifting patterns, swans gliding silently beneath the arches, while the chatter of early risers pauses briefly as they take in the view, the moment both ordinary and extraordinary, each observer adding a note to the unbroken living symphony of Florence, its rhythm, texture, and story flowing endlessly through time. Entering the quieter streets of the Oltrarno, the pace slows, and the city's subtler details reveal themselves, the ivy climbing ancient walls, balconies adorned with trailing plants, windows opening to reveal sunlit interiors, and artisan workshops alive with the soft rhythm of creation, the scent of herbs drying in sunlight, the gentle hum of music, the soft laughter of neighbors greeting one another, all blending into a sensory immersion that makes Florence not just a place to see but a world to inhabit fully. Eventually you reach the Boboli Gardens again, the morning light casting long shadows across sculpted hedges, fountains bubbling softly, statues poised in serene contemplation, pathways winding through groves of cypress, olive, and lemon trees, each turn revealing new perspectives, terraces offering breathtaking views over rooftops and the Arno, while the distant hum of the city blends with the natural sounds of birds, water, and leaves rustling in the gentle morning breeze, forming an unbroken continuum of sensory and spatial experience. And as you pause on a terrace to take in the panorama, the entirety of Florence stretches before you, a living canvas of color, texture, sound, history, and life. Moving onward through the garden's hidden corners, you notice small fountains tucked behind hedges, quiet benches awaiting travelers, and niches holding statues that seem to whisper forgotten stories, while the scent of flowers and herbs infuses the air, and the distant music from a hidden piazza carries faintly through the gardens, blending with the rhythmic flow of water. creating a meditation of sound and light that connects the natural and human elements of Florence seamlessly. Every sense engaged, every perception heightened, every step a continuation of a living, breathing, immersive narrative. As afternoon unfolds, the city changes subtly once again. Shadows lengthening, colors deepening, sunlight catching the curves of facades, the texture of stone, marble, and plaster revealing the care and artistry of centuries. While the hum of daily life intensifies, the voices of locals, the chatter of tourists, the clatter of bicycle wheels on cobblestones, the soft music from open windows and street performers all forming a complex, harmonious soundscape. Every element part of the ongoing, unbroken story of Florence, a city that breathes, moves, and exists as an immersive sensory and historical experience, both monumental and intimate. Venturing further into hidden alleys and side streets, past quiet churches, small piazzas, artisan workshops, late-night cafes, gelaterias, and trattorias, you are absorbed entirely into the city's rhythm, the reflections of sunlight or street, lamps on stone, the fragrance of food, flowers, and the river, the soft strumming of strings, the faint tolling of bells, the laughter of children, and the murmur of conversation all forming a single, continuous, immersive experience. Every detail interwoven into a narrative that stretches through centuries and flows endlessly forward, a living paragraph of Florence, unbroken, infinitely expansive, a journey that merges observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, sound and silence, taste and fragrance, movement and stillness into a seamless, continuous tapestry of life, art, history, and human presence, an eternal, unfolding of immersive experience that carries you deeper into the heart of Florence with every step, every breath, every glance, every heartbeat, each moment a continuation of the infinite living story of a city that never ceases to reveal, inspire, and embrace those willing to move fully within its light, shadow, history, art, architecture, gardens, streets, bridges, and river, the narrative flowing like the Arno itself endlessly, beautifully, eternally. And as the morning matures into full daylight, Florence's streets glow with a gentle vibrancy, the terracotta rooftops catching the sun's warmth, each tile reflecting light differently, creating a shifting mosaic of color and texture, while the Arno glimmers beneath the bridges, its waters flowing steadily, carrying reflections of historic buildings, pedestrians crossing, and the occasional swan gliding gracefully, each movement adding life and rhythm to the scene. The soft hum of the city a constant undercurrent to the visual feast, while the scents of fresh pastries, roasted coffee, and blooming flowers from window boxes mingle with the cool river breeze, enveloping every passerby in a sensory embrace that is uniquely Florentine. Wandering through the narrow alleys of the historic center, you notice the intricate details of centuries-old facades, from carved stone lintels to faded frescoes and engraved plaques commemorating artists, scholars, and notable citizens, each surface a testament to time, care, and human presence, while the occasional clatter of bicycle wheels on cobblestones, the soft murmur of locals greeting each other, and the distant tolling of church bells form a layered soundscape, every element contributing to the immersive rhythm of life in Florence, as if the city itself were breathing around you, guiding your steps, shaping your perception, and inviting you to move in concert with its pulse. Entering Piazza della Signoria once more, the monumental statues capture your attention. The replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance masterpieces casting long shadows in the sunlight, while the fountain of Neptune sparkles with cascading water, droplets catching the light and scattering it like diamonds across the square. And nearby, street performers practice quietly, the strum of a lute or the soft hum of a violin weaving seamlessly into the ambient murmur of conversations, footsteps, and laughter, creating an auditory canvas that complements the visual splendor. The piazza itself, a living artwork, constantly reshaped by human presence, history, and the interplay of light, shadow, and movement. Moving along Via dei Calzaioli, the city's central artery, the rhythm intensifies. Shops opening their doors to reveal displays of hand-painted ceramics, embroidered textiles, polished leather goods, and sparkling jewelry, each item a testament to skill, dedication, and artistry passed down through generations, while the aromas of focaccia, fresh pasta, roasted chestnuts, and blooming flowers combine into a rich olfactory tapestry, and the soft strumming of guitars and violins from nearby windows and street performers adds a melodic layer to the living symphony of Florence, enveloping every sense, every glance, every step, and every breath in a continuous, immersive narrative of urban life, artistry, history, and human experience. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio again, the morning sunlight catches on the jewelry, gold and gemstones in shop windows, sending dazzling reflections onto the cobblestones below, while the Arno's waters ripple gently, mirroring the sky, the city, and the movement of passers-by, the occasional swan gliding beneath the arches, creating a scene that is simultaneously dynamic and serene. The bridge itself a living testament to Florence's ability to merge function, beauty, history, and daily life seamlessly. Entering the Oltrarno, the streets narrow and the pace slows, allowing more subtle details to reveal themselves. Ivy climbing ancient walls, balconies adorned with trailing plants, windows opening to sunlit interiors, and artisan workshops alive with meticulous activity. From goldsmiths polishing delicate pieces to painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, leatherworkers stitching with rhythmic precision, each movement a continuation of centuries of craft, culture, and human dedication. And as you pause to observe, the faint fragrance of herbs, flowers, and roasted bread mingles with the soft strains of music drifting from open doors and windows, creating a living, unbroken tapestry that draws you deeper into Florence's essence. Eventually you reach the Boboli Gardens, the vast greenery stretching out before you, the geometric precision of hedges, fountains trickling softly, statues hidden in niches, and terraces offering breathtaking vistas of rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while the gentle hum of the city below blends with birdsong, rustling leaves and flowing water, forming a meditative soundscape. Each turn in the garden revealing new perspectives, quiet corners, shaded groves, and pathways inviting reflection, observation, and slow, deliberate exploration, a living immersion in the natural and cultural layers of Florence. As afternoon progresses, the light changes, shadows lengthen, facades deepen in color, and the texture of stone, marble, and plaster becomes more pronounced, revealing centuries of care and artistry, while the hum of daily life continues, voices of locals and tourists interweaving with soft music, footsteps, and the occasional distant bell, forming a complex, harmonious soundscape, every element part of the ongoing narrative of Florence, a city that breathes, moves, and unfolds as an immersive sensory and historical experience, monumental and intimate simultaneously, exploring hidden alleys, side streets, small piazzas, quiet churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias, trattorias, fountains, and gardens. The city absorbs you completely, every sense engaged, every perception heightened, reflections of sunlight on stone and water, fragrance of food and flowers, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music all coalescing into a single, continuous immersive experience. A paragraph of life, history, and culture stretching through centuries and forward into the present. A narrative flowing like the Arno, carrying you through Florence as observer and participant, merging past, present, light, shadow, movement, stillness, sound, taste, and smell into one unbroken tapestry of city life, art, and human presence. Wandering through the piazzas as afternoon becomes evening, shadows lengthen further, lanterns flicker to life, golden light spilling across cobblestones, bridges shimmering in reflections, fountains glowing softly, while small cafes and trattorias hum with activity, patrons conversing, sipping wine, tasting small plates of pasta, cheese, and bread, the scent of evening meals mingling with flowers and the cool night air, and every detail contributes to the continuous, flowing narrative of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing you deeper into its rhythm, textures, history, and life, meandering past hidden fountains, quiet piazzas, artisan workshops, illuminated shops, and lamplit alleys. Every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry of Florence, flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, the rhythm of your steps merging with the rhythm of the city, every heartbeat a note in the symphony of life. Art, architecture, gardens, bridges, streets, and river, every breath carrying history, beauty, and culture into your body, every glance absorbing centuries of human presence, every motion a continuation of the city's living story. And as the night deepens, Florence's glow intensifies, streetlights reflecting in river waters, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and windows, the aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air, the city alive in every sense, every step, every perception, an immersive narrative that continues without pause. A single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time and experience. And as the city shifts from afternoon to early evening, Florence takes on a different kind of radiance. The terracotta rooftops glowing softly in the descending sunlight, the shadows stretching longer across the cobblestones, creating a dynamic interplay of light and dark that transforms every street, alley, and piazza into a living canvas, while the Arno reflects the warm colors of the sky, the gentle ripples catching the golden hue and scattering it in ever-changing patterns across the surface, swans and small boats gliding silently beneath the bridges, their movement a quiet accompaniment to the low hum of the city, the murmur of footsteps, conversations, and distant bells blending into a living, breathing symphony that envelops every observer fully, immersing them in the rhythm and texture of Florence. Wandering through the historic center, you notice the intricate details of palazzi, their facades alive with texture, carved stone, wrought iron balconies, and faded frescoes, each telling a story of centuries past, the marks of artisans, patrons, and residents imprinted subtly into every surface. And as you pass beneath arches and through narrow streets, the scent of freshly baked bread, espresso, blooming flowers, and roasted chestnuts rises from cafes, shops, and window boxes, layering the sensory experience with aromas that evoke both the present moment and echoes of countless mornings, afternoons, and evenings lived in these streets. Entering Piazza della Signoria once more, the statues and fountains are bathed in the warm glow of lanterns and the soft light of the setting sun. The monumental replicas of David, Perseus, and other Renaissance figures casting long, dramatic shadows, while the fountain of Neptune glistens as droplets catch the fading sunlight, sparkling like tiny gems, and the ambient sounds of footsteps, voices, and occasional musical instruments from street performers create a living orchestration of human presence, history, and artistry, a continuous sensory experience that both grounds and elevates the observer, allowing them to feel fully integrated into the living story of Florence. Moving along Via dei Calzaiuoli, the rhythm of the city subtly changes as the shops begin closing for the day, their displays catching the last rays of sunlight, showing intricate jewelry, fine leather goods, embroidered textiles, hand-painted ceramics, and artisan craftsmanship that reflects centuries of skill, dedication, and culture, while the faint aroma of dinner preparations, fresh pasta, and baking bread mingles with the delicate scent of evening air, creating a sensory narrative that is both intimate and expansive, tying together human life, artistry, history, and the living environment seamlessly. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio again, the reflections of lanterns and fading sunlight shimmer on the Arno, gold and gemstones in shop windows catching the eye, the occasional swan gliding beneath the arches, the soft murmur of the river blending with footsteps and quiet conversation. Every movement, sound, and reflection adding layers to an immersive narrative that extends through both space and time, connecting observer and city, present and past, light and shadow, sound and silence into a continuous living story. Entering the Oltrarno, the streets narrow and the pace slows, revealing subtler details. Ivy climbing ancient walls, balconies adorned with trailing plants, windows opening onto sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet activity, from the rhythmic brushing of paint on canvas to the precise polishing of gold. the stitching of leather goods and the careful shaping of clay. Each gesture a continuation of centuries of craft, each movement a note in the unbroken symphony of Florence's human, artistic, and cultural presence, while the scents of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasting coffee weave together in a complex, immersive olfactory tapestry. Eventually, you arrive at the Bobbly Gardens once more, the greenery now bathed in the soft light of early evening, the geometric hedges casting intricate shadows, fountains gurgling quietly, statues poised serenely in niches, terraces offering expansive views of Florence, the rooftops glowing in the fading light, the Arno reflecting the sky and city below, distant church bells echoing softly, birds singing their evening songs, and the gentle rustle of leaves forming a meditative soundscape, each turn in the garden revealing hidden benches, quiet corners, shaded groves, and pathways inviting slow contemplation and observation, a living immersion into the natural, cultural, and human layers of Florence. As twilight deepens, the city transforms once again. Lanterns flicker on, casting golden light on cobblestones, bridges shimmer with reflected illumination, fountains glow softly, while small cafes, trattorias and gelaterias hum with activity, patrons conversing, sipping wine, tasting plates of pasta, cheese, and bread, the aroma of evening meals mingling with flowers in the cool night air, and every sense is fully engaged, creating a continuous narrative of Florence that is alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer ever deeper into its rhythm, textures, history, and life. Meandering through hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, artisan shops, and lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one, infinitely expansive narrative of Florence, wandering through the piazzas as night falls fully, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from windows and cafes, the aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air. The city alive in every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat a continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. And as the night deepens further, Florence reveals hidden treasures, small courtyards tucked behind arches, fountains that glimmer under lamplight, statues casting elongated shadows, small artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming perfect silhouettes, cafes alive with conversation, the faint sound of violins and guitars from open windows, the fragrance of flowers, bread, and roasting chestnuts mingling with the cool night air, every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience. And as you pause, observe and absorb, every breath, every glance, every step merges with the rhythm of the city, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely, each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story that stretches through centuries and flows endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding. And as the night deepens, Florence transforms into a city of subtle illuminations, each street lamp casting golden pools of light on the cobblestones, bridges shimmering with reflections in the Arno, and fountains glowing softly, droplets catching, the illumination like scattered stars, while the quiet murmur of conversation, the faint strumming of a guitar and distant tolling of church bells form a delicate, living symphony that threads through the city, connecting past and present, human, life and art, movement and stillness. Wandering through narrow alleys and hidden courtyards, you notice the gentle sway of hanging lanterns, ivy climbing ancient walls, and balconies adorned with trailing plants, the subtle fragrances of evening blooms mingling with the aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and simmering sauces from trattorias. Every step a full immersion into the multi-layered sensory life of Florence, the city revealing its beauty slowly, layer by layer, detail by detail, each moment expanding the experience, making the observer part of the living narrative. Moving toward Piazza della Signoria, the statues and fountains now bathed in a soft, warm light. The monumental replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other figures casting elongated shadows on the stone beneath, while the fountain of Neptune glistens, droplets catching the lamplight in a display of fleeting brilliance, and nearby, street performers practice quietly, the soft hum of music blending seamlessly with footsteps, conversation, and the occasional distant bell, forming a tapestry of sound that complements the visual splendor and immerses the observer fully in the city's rhythm and texture. Venturing along Via dei Calzaioli, the central thoroughfare, the pace slows, shops closing their displays for the day, hand-painted ceramics, polished leather goods, embroidered textiles, and sparkling jewelry reflecting the last glimmers of light, while the scents of evening meals, roasted chestnuts, and blooming flowers mingle in the cool night air. And faint music from open windows and street performers adds melodic texture to the ambient sound, creating a layered sensory experience, unbroken, seamless, and fully immersive. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio once more, the reflections of lamps and moonlight shimmer on the Arno, gold and gemstones catching the eye, occasional swans gliding silently beneath the arches, footsteps echoing lightly against the stone, the river murmuring softly, blending with voices, music, and ambient sound to form a living, breathing narrative that flows continuously through space and time, connecting observer, city, past, and present into one coherent experience. Entering the Oltrarno, streets narrow further, the pace slows, and Florence's subtler details emerge, ivy climbing ancient walls, balconies with trailing plants, windows opening onto warm, lamp-lit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet, creation, rhythmic brushstrokes on canvas, polishing of gold, stitching of leather, careful shaping of clay, each gesture a continuation of centuries of craft, the faint fragrance of herbs and flowers blending with the aroma of fresh bread and evening meals, every sense fully engaged, every step a continuation of the city's living story. Eventually, reaching the Bobbly Gardens once more, the vast greenery stretches out, geometric hedges casting intricate shadows, fountains bubbling softly, statues poised in niches, terraces offering sweeping views of Florence, the rooftops glowing under soft evening light, the Arno reflecting the city and sky, distant church bells echoing gently, birds singing evening songs, and the rustle of leaves in the cool breeze forming a meditative, immersive soundscape. Every pathway revealing quiet benches, hidden fountains, shaded groves and corners inviting reflection, observation, and slow exploration. A living immersion into Florence's natural, cultural, and human layers. As night deepens further, the city transforms again. Small lanterns flickering to life, streetlights casting golden glows on cobblestones, bridges shimmering in reflections, fountains glowing, cafes, trattorias, and gelaterias humming with activity, patrons conversing, sipping wine, tasting pasta, cheese, bread, and desserts, aromas mingling with the cool night air, every detail contributing to the continuous flowing narrative of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into its rhythm, textures, history, and life. Wandering through hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, artisan shops, lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative. Wandering through piazzas as midnight approaches, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, the aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air. The city alive in every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat, a continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. And as the hours pass toward the early morning, Florence reveals hidden treasures, quiet courtyards tucked behind arches, fountains glimmering under lamplight, statues casting long shadows, artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming silhouettes against the night sky, cafes alive with conversation, violins and guitars from open windows, fragrance of flowers, bread and roasting chestnuts mingling with cool night air, every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience. And as you pause, observe, and absorb, every breath, glance, step merges with the city's rhythm, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely, each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story stretching through centuries and flowing endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding. And through the night, festivals begin in select piazzas, candles illuminating intricate patterns on stone, musicians performing traditional songs, dancers moving in rhythm, food stalls offering seasonal delicacies, the scents of roasted meats, pastries and fresh herbs filling the air, voices rising in song and laughter, the city vibrating with energy that merges with the river, bridges and alleys, creating an expansive sensory symphony. A living narrative that stretches across Florence in every direction, weaving past, present, human life, and cultural legacy into a single, continuous, immersive experience, endless, eternal, alive. And as the first light of dawn begins to tint the sky with soft pinks and pale golds, Florence awakens once more, the terracotta rooftops catching the early rays, each tile reflecting light in a slightly different hue, creating a subtle mosaic across the city, while the Arno glistens under the awakening sky, its waters carrying reflections of bridges, palaces, and early risers moving along its banks, swans gliding quietly beneath the arches, their movements adding a gentle rhythm to the city's natural pulse, and the faint murmur of footsteps, bicycle wheels on cobblestones, and soft greetings between locals forms a layered soundscape that blends seamlessly with the gentle rustle of leaves and distant birdsong, immersing the observer in Florence's living symphony. Moving through the historic center, you notice the details of centuries-old facades, the careful carving of stone lintels, balconies adorned with trailing plants, faded frescoes, and plaques commemorating the lives of artists, scholars, and merchants, each telling a story of human effort, creativity, and history, while the aroma of fresh bread, brewing coffee, and blooming flowers rises from cafes, window boxes, and small street-side markets, enveloping the senses in an olfactory tapestry as rich as the visual one. Entering Piazza della Signoria, the monumental statues dominate the square, the replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance masterpieces casting elongated shadows in the early morning light, while the fountain of Neptune glistens, droplets catching the soft sunlight, creating tiny sparkles across the stone, and nearby street performers prepare for the day, the faint strum of a guitar or gentle hum of a violin layering with footsteps, conversation, and the distant tolling of church bells, forming a complex, yet harmonious soundscape that immerses the observer fully in Florence's rhythm, texture, and story. Venturing along Via dei Calzaioli, the central artery of the city, the rhythm of daily life intensifies as shops open their doors, revealing displays of hand-painted ceramics, polished leather goods, embroidered textiles, and delicate jewelry, each item reflecting the care and skill of artisans who continue centuries-old traditions, while the scents of fresh focaccia, pastries, roasted coffee, and blooming flowers mingle with the ambient sounds of the city, creating a multi-layered, sensory experience that is unbroken, seamless, and fully immersive. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio, the river mirrors the first light of morning, golden gemstones in shop windows sparkling faintly, swans gliding silently beneath the arches, the soft murmur of the Arno blending with footsteps, conversation, and distant birdsong to form a living narrative that flows through space and time, connecting observer, city, past, and present into a continuous story. Entering the Oltrarno, the streets narrow, the pace slows, and subtle details emerge. Ivy climbing, ancient. Walls, windows opening to sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet, meticulous creation, the rhythmic brushing of paint on canvas, polishing of gold, stitching of leather, shaping of clay. Each movement a continuation of centuries, of skill and culture, while the scent of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasted coffee blends in the cool morning air. Every sense fully engaged, each step a continuation of the city's living story. Eventually, reaching the Boboli Gardens, the vast greenery stretches before you. Geometric hedges casting delicate shadows, fountains bubbling softly, statues poised in hidden niches, terraces offering breathtaking views over Florence, the terracotta, rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while the faint hum of the city below blends with birdsong, rustling leaves and flowing water, forming a meditative, immersive soundscape. Each turn in the garden revealing quiet benches, shaded groves, and pathways inviting reflection, observation, and slow exploration, a living immersion into the natural, cultural, and human layers of Florence. As the day progresses, sunlight shifts across facades, shadows lengthen, colors deepen, revealing the textures of stone, marble, and plaster, each surface a testament to centuries of care and artistry, while the hum of life intensifies. Voices of locals, chatter of tourists, clatter of bicycle wheels on cobblestones, soft music from open windows and street performers form a complex, harmonious soundscape, every element part of the ongoing narrative of Florence, a city that breathes, moves, and unfolds as an immersive sensory and historical experience, monumental yet intimate, exploring hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, small churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias, and trattorias. The city absorbs the observer completely. Reflections of sunlight on stone and water, the fragrance of food, flowers, and herbs, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music coalescing into a single continuous immersive experience. A paragraph of life, history, and culture stretching across centuries and forward into the present. A narrative flowing like the Arno, carrying the observer through Florence as participant and witness, merging past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one unbroken tapestry of city life, art and human presence, wandering through piazzas as afternoon fades, shadows deepen, lanterns flicker on, bridges shimmer with reflected light, fountains glow softly while small cafes, trattorias, and gelaterias hum with patrons conversing, tasting pasta, cheese, bread, and desserts, aromas mingling with cool evening air. Every detail contributing to the continuous flowing narrative of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into rhythm, textures, history, and life. Meandering through hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, artisan shops, lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative, wandering through piazzas as night deepens, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air. The city alive. In every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat, a continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. And as midnight approaches, Florence reveals hidden treasures, quiet courtyards tucked behind arches, fountains glimmering under lamplight, statues casting elongated shadows, artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming perfect silhouettes against the night sky, cafes alive with conversation, violins and guitars drifting from open windows, fragrances of flowers, bread, and roasting chestnuts mingling with cool night air. every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience. Every breath, glance, and step merging with the city's rhythm, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely. Each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story stretching through centuries and flowing endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding. And as the first light of dawn spreads across Florence once more, the terracotta rooftops begin to glow with gentle hues of gold and pink, each tile reflecting sunlight slightly differently, creating a living mosaic across the cityscape, while the Arno shimmers with early reflections of bridges, palaces, and the occasional swan gliding beneath the arches, moving gracefully along the quiet river, the water carrying subtle ripples that scatter the morning light in endlessly shifting patterns, and the soft murmur of footsteps, the gentle clatter of bicycle wheels on cobblestones, and the quiet greetings of early risers form a layered soundscape that merges seamlessly with the gentle rustle of leaves, distant church bells, and birdsong, creating an immersive experience in Florence's living rhythm. Wandering through the historic streets, the observer notices centuries-old facades, delicate carvings in stone, balconies adorned with trailing plants, and faded frescoes that hint at lives, stories, and events long past, while small plaques commemorate artists, scholars, and merchants, embedding human history into every corner, and the subtle aromas of freshly baked bread, roasted coffee, and blooming flowers rise from cafes, window boxes, and local markets, layering the sensory experience with scents as rich and complex as the visual and auditory details. Entering Piazza della Signoria, the statues and fountains dominate the square, monumental replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance figures casting dramatic shadows on the stone, while the fountain of Neptune glistens, droplets catching the soft morning light like tiny diamonds, and nearby, street performers begin their day, tuning instruments, strumming gentle melodies, the soft music blending with the murmur of pedestrians and distant bells, creating an immersive symphony of sound that is both ancient and immediate, connecting the observer to centuries of art, human presence, and cultural continuity. Moving along Via dei Calzaiuoli, the city's central artery, the rhythm of daily life intensifies, shops opening their doors to display hand-painted ceramics, polished leather goods, embroidered textiles, and sparkling jewelry, each item reflecting the dedication of artisans who continue traditions passed down for generations, while the scents of fresh focaccia, pastries, and coffee mix with the subtle fragrance of flowers, forming a living olfactory tapestry that engages the senses completely, every detail contributing to a continuous immersive narrative. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio, the river mirrors the city and sky, the gold and gemstones in shop windows reflecting sunlight, swans gliding silently below, the soft murmur of the Arno blending with footsteps, voices, and the occasional distant music creating a flowing narrative that connects observer, city, past, and present, unbroken and continuous. Entering the Old Trarno, streets narrow, pace slows, and subtler details emerge, ivy climbing ancient walls, open windows revealing sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with meticulous activity, painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, goldsmiths polishing intricate pieces, leatherworkers stitching with rhythmic precision, and sculptors shaping clay and stone with care, each movement a continuation of centuries of craft, culture, and human endeavor. The faint aroma of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasted coffee blending into the morning air, each sense fully engaged. Reaching the bubbly gardens, the vast greenery stretches before you. Geometric hedges casting delicate shadows, fountains gurgling softly, statues poised gracefully in niches, terraces offering panoramic views over rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while the distant hum of the city below mixes with birdsong, rustling leaves, and flowing water, forming a meditative, immersive soundscape. Each pathway revealing hidden benches, shaded groves, and quiet corners, inviting contemplation, observation, and slow exploration, a living immersion into Florence's natural, cultural, and human layers. As the day progresses, sunlight shifts, shadows lengthen, facades deepen in color, textures of stone, marble, and plaster revealing centuries of craftsmanship, while the hum of life intensifies. Voices of locals, the chatter of tourists, soft music from open windows and street performers forming a complex, harmonious auditory landscape, every element part of the ongoing, living narrative of Florence, a city that breathes, moves, and unfolds as a fully immersive sensory and historical experience. Exploring hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, small churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias, and trattorias, the observer is absorbed entirely. Reflections of sunlight on stone and water, the fragrance of food, flowers, and herbs, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music coalescing into a single, unbroken, immersive experience. A paragraph stretching across centuries and forward into the present, merging past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into a continuous tapestry of city life, art, and human presence. As afternoon fades into evening, Florence transforms once again, shadows deepen, lanterns flicker on, bridges shimmer in reflections, fountains glow softly, cafes and trattorias hum with patrons, aromas of evening meals mixing with flowers and cool air, every detail contributing to the continuous flowing narrative of Florence. Alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into rhythm, textures, history, and life. Meandering through hidden alleys, piazzas, artisan shops, and lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative, wandering through piazzas as night deepens, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air. The city alive in every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat. A continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. And as midnight approaches, hidden courtyards behind arches, fountains glimmering under lamplight, statues casting long shadows, artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming perfect silhouettes against the night sky, cafes alive with conversation, violins and guitars drifting from windows, fragrances of flowers, bread, and roasted chestnuts mingling with cool night air, every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience, every breath, glance, and step merging with the city's rhythm, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely, each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story stretching through centuries and flowing endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding, an eternal river of words that mirrors the Arno itself, never ceasing, always flowing, endlessly. And as the sun rises higher, casting a warm glow across Florence, the city awakens fully. The terracotta rooftops radiant under the morning light, each tile catching sunlight differently, creating a shifting mosaic across the urban landscape, while the Arno glimmers beneath the historic bridges, its surface reflecting palazzi, swans, and the gentle movement of small boats, the water rippling softly with every subtle current, each wave scattering the early light across stone embankments, and the faint clatter of bicycle wheels, murmurs of conversation, and footsteps on cobblestones merge with distant church bells and birdsong, forming a layered, immersive soundscape that engages every sense and draws the observer deeper into Florence's rhythm. Wandering through the winding streets, centuries-old facades reveal their intricate details. Carved stone lintels, faded frescoes, balconies adorned with flowering plants, and plaques commemorating the lives of artists, scholars, and merchants who once walked these same streets, embedding layers of human history into every corner. while the aromas of freshly baked bread, espresso, and blooming flowers rise from cafes, window boxes, and small market stalls, creating an olfactory tapestry as complex and rich as the visual and auditory landscape. Entering Piazza della Signoria, the monumental statues dominate the square, replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance masterpieces casting long shadows in the morning sun. The fountain of Neptune sparkling as droplets catch the light, and nearby street performers tune their instruments, strumming soft melodies that intertwine with the murmur of pedestrians, the distant tolling of bells, and the soft rustle of leaves, forming a living symphony that connects observer, city, and centuries of history in a single immersive experience. Moving along Via dei Calzaiuoli, Florence's central artery, the pace quickens slightly as shops open, revealing hand-painted ceramics, embroidered textiles, polished leather goods, and delicate jewelry, each piece reflecting generations of skilled craftsmanship, while the subtle scents of fresh pastries, coffee, and flowers mingle in the morning air, creating a multi-sensory narrative that is continuous, unbroken, and fully immersive. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio, the river mirrors the city and sky, gold and gemstones in shop windows glittering faintly, swans gliding beneath the arches, the soft murmur of the Arno blending with footsteps, conversation, and distant music, forming a flowing narrative that connects observer and city past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness. Entering the Oltrarno, streets narrow, pace slows, and subtle details emerge. Ivy climbing ancient walls, windows opening onto sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet activity, painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, goldsmiths polishing intricate pieces, leatherworkers stitching with rhythmic precision, sculptors shaping clay and stone, each gesture continuing centuries of craft and culture, while the scent of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasted coffee blends into the morning air, engaging all senses. Reaching the Boboli Gardens, geometric hedges cast delicate shadows, fountains bubble softly, statues are poised in niches, terraces offer panoramic views of rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while birds sing, leaves rustle, and the distant hum of the city below blends with the gentle sounds of flowing water, creating a meditative, immersive soundscape. Pathways revealing benches, shaded groves, and quiet corners, inviting reflection, observation, and slow exploration, a living immersion into Florence's natural, cultural, and human layers. As midday approaches, sunlight shifts, facades deepen in color, textures of stone, marble, and plaster revealing centuries of artistry, while the hum of life intensifies. Voices of locals, chatter of tourists, bicycle wheels on cobblestones, soft music from open windows, and street performers forming a complex auditory landscape. Every element part of the living narrative of Florence, a city breathing, moving, and unfolding as a fully immersive sensory and historical experience. Exploring hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, small churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias, and trattorias, the observer is absorbed entirely. Reflections of sunlight on stone and water, fragrances of food, flowers and herbs, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music coalescing into a single unbroken paragraph stretching across centuries and forward into the present, merging past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance, into one continuous tapestry of city life, art, and human presence. As afternoon fades into evening, Florence transforms once again. Shadows lengthen, lanterns flicker on, bridges shimmer with reflected light, fountains glow softly, cafes and trattorias hum with patrons, aromas of evening meals mixing with flowers, and cool night air, every detail contributing to the continuous flowing narrative of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into rhythm, textures, history, and life. Meandering through hidden alleys, piazzas, artisan shops, and lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself. merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative, wandering through piazzas as night deepens, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air. The city alive in every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat. A continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. And as midnight approaches, hidden courtyards tucked behind arches, fountains glimmering under lamplight, statues casting long shadows, artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming perfect silhouettes against the night sky, cafes alive with conversation, violins and guitars drifting from windows, fragrances of flowers, bread, and roasting chestnuts mingling with cool night air, every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience, every breath, glance, and step merging with the city's rhythm, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely, each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story stretching through centuries and flowing endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding. And as the morning sun rises higher, Florence pulses with renewed energy, the terracotta rooftops glowing warmly, each tile reflecting light uniquely, creating an ever-shifting mosaic across the city, while the Arno glimmers beneath the historic bridges, its surface rippling gently with swans gliding beneath the arches, the movement of small boats and subtle currents, each wave scattering the sunlight across embankments, cobblestones, and passing pedestrians, the soft murmur of bicycle wheels, footsteps, and distant voices blending with the gentle rustle of leaves, birdsong, and church bells to form a layered, living soundscape that immerses the observer fully into the heartbeat of Florence. Wandering through narrow streets and piazzas, centuries old, facades reveal intricate carvings, faded frescoes, and balconies adorned with trailing plants, while plaques commemorate artists, scholars, and merchants who once walked these streets, embedding layers of history and human presence into the environment. The aromas of freshly baked bread, roasted coffee, blooming flowers, and fresh herbs from markets and window boxes adding an olfactory dimension as rich and textured as the visual and auditory landscape. Entering Piazza della Signoria, the monumental statues dominate the square, replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance figures casting long shadows, the fountain of Neptune sparkling as droplets catch the sunlight, and nearby street performers begin their day, strumming soft melodies, the music weaving with conversations, footsteps, and distant bells into a living symphony that connects observer, city, and centuries of cultural history in one immersive experience. Moving along Via dei Calzaioli, Florence's central artery, shops open to display hand-painted ceramics, polished leather goods, embroidered textiles, and sparkling jewelry, each item reflecting generations of skilled craftsmanship, while subtle scents of pastries, coffee, and flowers mingle in the morning air, forming a multi-sensory narrative that is continuous, unbroken, and fully immersive, drawing the observer into every layer of Florence's texture and rhythm. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio, the river mirrors the sky and city, golden gemstone displays glittering faintly, swans gliding beneath the arches, the soft murmur of water blending with footsteps, conversation, and distant music, creating a flowing narrative that connects observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness. Entering the Oltrarno, streets narrow, pace slows, revealing subtler details. Ivy climbing ancient walls, open windows onto sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet creation, painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, goldsmiths polishing intricate pieces, leatherworkers stitching rhythmically, sculptors shaping clay and stone, each movement continuing centuries of craft and culture, the sense of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasted coffee mingling in the cool air, every sense fully engaged. Reaching the Boboli Gardens, geometric hedges cast delicate shadows, fountains bubble softly. Statues are poised gracefully in niches, terraces offering sweeping views of rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while birds sing, leaves rustle, and the distant hum of the city blends with flowing water, forming a meditative, immersive soundscape, each pathway revealing quiet benches, shaded groves, and corners inviting reflection, observation, and slow exploration, a living immersion into Florence's natural, cultural, and human layers. As midday progresses, sunlight shifts across facades, shadows lengthen, textures of stone, marble, and plaster revealing centuries of artistry, while the hum of life intensifies. Voices of locals, chatter of tourists, wheels on cobblestones, soft music from windows and street performers forming a complex, harmonious auditory landscape, every element part of Florence's living, breathing, unfolding narrative, exploring hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, small churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias, and trattorias. The observer is absorbed entirely, reflections of sunlight on stone and water, fragrances of food, flowers and herbs, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music coalescing into a single, unbroken immersive paragraph stretching across centuries and into the present, merging past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into a continuous tapestry of city life, art, and human presence. As afternoon fades, Florence transforms, shadows deepen, lanterns flicker on, bridges shimmer with reflected light, fountains glow softly, cafes and trattorias hum with patrons, aromas of evening meals mixing with flowers and cool air, every detail contributing to the continuous narrative, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into rhythm, textures, history, and life, meandering through hidden alleys, piazzas, artisan shops, and lamplit streets. Every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative, wandering through piazzas as night deepens, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, aromas of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air, the city alive, in every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat, a continuation of the immersive narrative, a single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive, flowing endlessly through time, history, and experience. As midnight approaches, hidden courtyards tucked behind arches, fountains glimmering under lamplight, statues casting long shadows, artisan shops glowing warmly, the Arno reflecting golden light, bridges forming silhouettes against the night sky, cafes alive with conversation, violins and guitars drifting from windows, fragrances of flowers, bread and roasted chestnuts mingling with cool night air, every element contributing to the continuous flow of experience, every breath, glance, and step merging with the city's rhythm, the heartbeat of Florence extending infinitely, each moment a continuation of the unbroken narrative, a living paragraph of art, life, history, culture, and human presence, a story stretching through centuries and flowing endlessly forward, immersive, alive, eternal, endlessly unfolding. And as dawn breaks once more over Florence, the city slowly stirs into a delicate symphony of light, color, and sound. The terracotta rooftops absorbing the soft, warm hues of the morning sun, each tile casting subtle shadows, creating a living mosaic that stretches endlessly across the urban landscape, while the Arno glimmers beneath historic bridges, its gentle currents reflecting palaces, swans gliding beneath arches, and small boats carrying goods and passengers, the faint ripples, scattering light across cobblestone embankments, blending seamlessly with the distant chimes of church bells, the hum of early bicycle wheels and footsteps of locals starting their day, forming a layered auditory tapestry that immerses the observer completely in the heartbeat of Florence. Winding through narrow alleys, piazzas, and historic streets, centuries-old facades reveal intricate details. Carved stone lintels, faded frescoes, balconies adorned with flowering plants, and commemorative plaques honoring artists, scholars, and merchants whose lives have been interwoven with the city's fabric, each layer of history adding depth to the observer's experience, while the aromas of freshly baked bread, espresso, and blooming flowers from cafes, markets, and window boxes enrich the olfactory landscape, creating a multi-sensory, fully immersive narrative. Entering Piazza della Signoria, the monumental statues dominate the square. Replicas of Michelangelo's David, Perseus, and other Renaissance figures casting long shadows in the morning light. The fountain of Neptune sparkling as droplets catch sunlight while street performers begin their day, tuning and strumming instruments, the soft melodies blending with conversations, footsteps, and distant bells, forming a harmonious, living symphony that unites observer, city, and centuries of culture in a continuous immersive experience. Along Via dei Calzaioli, Florence's central thoroughfare, the rhythm of life picks up. Shops opening to reveal hand-painted ceramics, polished leather goods, embroidered textiles, and intricate jewelry, each piece reflecting generations of craftsmanship, while scents of pastries, fresh focaccia, and flowers mix in the morning air, forming a sensory tapestry that is continuous, unbroken, and fully immersive, drawing the observer into every detail of Florence's texture and rhythm. Crossing the Ponte Vecchio, the Arno mirrors sky and city. Gold and gemstone displays glinting faintly, swans gliding silently below, the soft murmur of water blending with footsteps, conversation, and distant music, creating a flowing narrative that connects observer and city past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness. Entering the Oltrarno, streets narrow and pace slows. Subtle details emerge. Ivy climbing ancient walls, windows opening onto sunlit interiors, artisan workshops alive with quiet creation, painters capturing fleeting light on canvas, goldsmiths polishing intricate pieces, leatherworkers stitching rhythmically, sculptors shaping clay and stone, each gesture continuing centuries of craft and culture, scents of herbs, flowers, bread, and roasted coffee blending in the air, every sense fully engaged. Reaching the bubbly gardens, geometric hedges cast delicate shadows, fountains bubbling softly, statues poised gracefully in niches, terraces offering panoramic views over rooftops, the Arno, and distant hills, while birds sing, leaves rustle, and the distant hum of the city blends with flowing water, forming a meditative, immersive soundscape. Pathways revealing benches, shaded groves, and quiet corners inviting reflection, observation, and slow exploration. A living immersion into Florence's natural, cultural, and human layers. As midday unfolds, sunlight shifts across facades. Shadows lengthen, textures of stone, marble, and plaster revealing centuries of artistry, while the hum of life intensifies. Voices of locals, chatter of tourists, bicycle wheels on cobblestones, soft music from open windows, and street performers forming a complex auditory landscape, every element part of Florence's living narrative. Exploring hidden alleys, quiet piazzas, small churches, artisan workshops, gelaterias and trattorias. The observer is absorbed entirely. Reflections of sunlight on stone and water, fragrances of food, flowers and herbs, faint tolling of bells, laughter of children, and distant music coalescing into a single unbroken immersive paragraph, stretching across centuries and into the present, merging past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into a continuous tapestry of city life, art, and human presence. As afternoon fades, Florence transforms again. Shadows deepen, lanterns flicker on, bridges shimmer with reflected light, fountains glow softly, cafes and trattorias hum with patrons, aromas of evening meals mixing with flowers and cool air. Every detail contributing to the continuous flowing narrative of Florence, alive, breathing, eternal, immersive, drawing the observer deeper into rhythm, textures, history, and life. Meandering through hidden alleys, piazzas, artisan shops, and lamplit streets, every sight, sound, scent, and texture forms part of an unbroken continuum, a paragraph stretching across centuries, a living tapestry flowing endlessly like the Arno itself, merging observer and city, past and present, light and shadow, movement and stillness, sound and silence, taste and fragrance into one infinitely expansive narrative, wandering through piazzas as night deepens, streetlights reflecting in the river, distant bells marking time, music drifting from cafes and open windows, aroma of roasted chestnuts, fresh bread, and evening meals filling the air, the city alive. In every sense, every step, every perception, every heartbeat, a continuation of the immersive narrative. A single, unbroken, infinitely expansive paragraph of Florence, eternal, breathing, alive, immersive.